So the testing of Apex basically requires single action. So we have been told that we have to test single action, bulk action, positive or negative behavior, and then restricted users. That's basically what needs to be tested, right? Okay, so let me just go ahead and create a trigger, and then we will write a code to test that trigger. All right. So here we are. Give me a quick moment. Let me log in into Salesforce. Okay. So we'll just go and create a trigger in account. Let me create a trigger here. So before insert for count A trigger dot new if dot industry equals energy without description equals energy count date A. Okay, so this is my trigger. What have I written in the trigger? I've just written that if you have, yeah, so I've just written that if there's an account which is entered into the system where the industry name is energy, I want the description to be updated as energy account. That's it. Right? So every time a new record is inserted, if the industry name is energy, then update the description to energy account. Right? That's what my trigger is. Now, how do I check the single action for this? Checking single action is pretty simple. Just go to the record, just go to the user interface, go to accounts, click on the new account, ABC, whatever, and in industry make it energy or whatever criteria you have defined. Put that and just go ahead and check. This was not required. You don't have to use an update statement if it's a trigger.new, because it automatically updates that. So that DML statement was not required. Okay. Yeah. See, description has got updated to energy accounts. Right. So we have the description updated to energy accounts. So it's working fine. So single record test clear. Bulk record test, because now you have to do the bulk record test. You cannot do the bulk record test from, basically I cannot create 200 records from here, because that's again going to be single record test. I need to check whether it is processing properly for multiple records or not. So I have to process 200 records and I have to write a program for that. So all that you have to do is you just have to write a program, and with the help of that particular program you have to pass 200 records, create 200 records, and check if it is working fine. Got it? Now, that's what we are going to do now. Give me one quick minute. All right. So what we have to do here is we just have to enter 200 accounts into database. Now the problem is that if I enter 200 accounts into the database, then what will happen? Then these are all going to be dummy accounts, right? Why should I enter 200 dummy accounts? And where do I find 200 actual accounts which I can enter? For testing, putting one account is fine, but putting 200 accounts for testing, every time you have to do a testing, 200 accounts get created in your database, that's actually going to be a bit of a challenge, right? So for that reason, what you do, you just create some dummy accounts, because your test methods, the test method will by default not have access to your actual data. Okay. So it's good that you create some dummy accounts, put it into the database, and Salesforce takes care of it. Once the test method gets executed properly, it removes all the records that it created for the test. Okay, so Salesforce keeps this data. I mean, only the time till the time the test is getting executed. The moment test gets executed, those records are removed automatically. So don't worry about entering those 200 accounts. So in the test method, what basically I have to do, I have to create 200 dummy accounts, then insert them into database, okay, and see if the uh, what is that thing, description gets updated. This is a positive behavior, right? If a sudden value, if the industry is energy, then description should be energy account. So I should try the positive behavior here because this is a positive behavior. So this is all you have to do. You have to create 200 dummy accounts, insert them into database and see if the description gets updated to whatever is desired. That's it. That's all. Nothing else is required. Okay. So to do this, let's go ahead and create a class. So we go ahead and create a class. Just go to setup, develop Apex classes, click on new. Okay, so if it is a test class, you should start it with it at its test annotation. Okay, this class is meant for testing purpose, so you should just start it with this annotation. What is the use of this annotation? If you put this annotation, then what will happen? It will not uh, kind of if you put this annotation, then it will not uh, count the characters used in this class against your limit. So there's a limitation of using 3 million characters for your programming, all programming. If you put at is test, then the code that you have written here is not counted against that limit. All right. If you don't write this, then these characters will also be counted. So which is not, which actually does not help you anyhow, right? So start with add is test, and after that it's the same old public class where you write my test class, name it whatever you want. Okay. Uh, Now the method that you're going to create here, you have to specify that method as a test method. Okay. You have to specify your method as a test method. Why? Because if you don't specify it as a test method, then Salesforce will not understand any difference between this. I told you, right? Whatever data you create in a test method gets deleted, but that does not happen in case of an actual method. So you have to specify that it's a test method, right? Say public test method void does not return anything. Just give a name to the method, whatever name you want. And inside this method, all that I have to do is these things. Create 200 dummy accounts, insert them into database, and then see if the description gets updated. That's it. That's what I have to do here. So this method should actually do this part. List of account, list of account then you should, okay, how do we create 200 dummy records? Creating 200 dummy records, you can simply use this for loop. A equals new account name equals account plus I. Okay. So what is this loop gonna do? This loop is gonna run 200 times for integer I to 199, from 0 to 199 for integer I. Okay. So which is actually exactly 200 times. Every time it's gonna create a new account with the name account plus I. So first time it's gonna be account 0, then account 1, account 2. That's just the name because I want to give a different name. And it keeps on adding that account to this list of accounts. That's it. Okay. So end of this loop, you should have 200 accounts in this list. So I've created a list of accounts. The dummy set of records is ready. Now I have to do the test. Now I have to insert these accounts. So all that you have to do is insert accounts. So accounts got inserted. Now what is next? After inserting the accounts, I'm supposed to go back and check whether the description got updated or not for all of them. But there is one more thing, because I'm checking the positive behavior, I should also put industry here. The logic of a positive behavior is if all information you provided is correct. So let me say if industry is also energy. Okay. So this criteria I have supplied. I have inserted accounts. Now I need to check whether uh, the records have got updated with the same value. Descriptions are updated. Fine. So let me create another list of accounts. Call it inserted accounts. Okay, so all that I need to do is I just need to go back and check the inserted accounts, the accounts which were inserted, whether the description for each of these records is correct or not. Right. Equals select name from account where ID in for account K1 insert get counts. System dot assert equals K1 dot description okay, right. So what I've done, I've created another list of records, inserted accounts. Okay, what is this inserted accounts? Inserted accounts is again the list of accounts that we just created. Okay, after inserting. Okay, and so that's the reason why I picked it from the database. I fetched it from the database by running the query. Now for each record in this list, this is again a list of 200 records. For each record in this list, I am doing a system.assert equals. So system.assert equals is a method which will help you check if the value of two things are same. So what I'm gonna check, I'm checking whether a.description is equals to energy account. That's what it was supposed to be, right? According to my trigger. So I just want to check that. So here the checking is because I've not created 200 records manually, so I'm not gonna check them manually. I'm just gonna check it through system.assert equals. So that's what my test method will do. It will automatically check. If there is any error, if any of the record does not match the value, even if one record does not match the value, this test method will not pass. Got it? So that's it. The test method is now going to do the job for you. The test method will create the 200 records. It will insert those records into the database, and after that, it's gonna test it, and it's gonna uh, pass the method in case everything is fine. Right? Okay. So one quick moment. There might be a few small errors which I need to fix. Okay. Line number 5. This should be code looks fine. Okay, so we have written the test method which is going to do all the things for us. Now all that you have to do is you just have to run this test method. Okay, now this test method will run, and after running it's gonna give a code coverage to, after running this is gonna provide a code coverage to your uh, Apex trigger. Okay, because this is what is being done on that particular trigger. So how do you run this test? I have to run this test to make sure that it is working fine. And don't worry, all these 200 accounts which get inserted here, you will not get to see these accounts. So end of this test method, all these accounts will be automatically deleted. All that you will get is just a code coverage. Okay, so how do you run the test? Just go to Apex classes. And you have the option of clicking on run all test from here. So all your test methods will run if you click here, run all test. Only test methods will run. Okay. Alternatively, you can go to the developer console. On the developer console, you have an option of test. Click on new run and select the test method that you want to run. Okay, now you can run it. Clear? So you can run the test method from here, or you can run the test method from there. Okay, so this test method has run. Now this test method is supposed to provide code coverage to some of my coding. Let's see if it does that. From here also, it's running. Test methods passed. Now go to your trigger. See, code coverage for this trigger is 100%. Because the test method for this trigger has passed. Till the time it does not pass, it will not get code coverage. Correct? Because now I've written. So now this is a tested trigger. It's safe to deploy it to the production. This trigger is working absolutely fine for 200 records. There's no problem with this. Correct? So anytime you're writing a program, you should write a test method for it. Try that particular method with 200 dummy records, because if you are doing it for 200 records, you are actually ensuring that 100 and 150 limitations are getting passed. 100 limit of SQL queries. So in case you put an SQL query or something like in a loop, it will throw error for 100 records. If there is a DML statement in a loop, it will throw an error for 150 records. So it's safe to try it for 200 records. If it has got passed for 200 records, then the chances are that you have not made that kind of a mistake. Correct? So that's the reason why we usually do it for 200 records. Try to pass it for 200 records. Correct? So now this is a tested code. It has code coverage. Any code that you want to deploy from sandbox to production needs to have at least 75% of code coverage. You understand that? Any code that needs to be deployed from sandbox to production, anytime you are planning to move from sandbox to production, you need to have minimum 75% code coverage. If you write the code properly, you will get 100%. Even if you do not get 100%, at least 75% of code coverage is required. What is the 75%? How does it calculate? 75% is pretty simple. If there are 10 lines of code, like in this case we had 3 lines. If you have 10 lines of code, out of 10 lines, even if your 8 lines get passed, if you have covered in the test method 8 lines, 2 lines were not passed, that's also fine. So 8 lines will give 80% code coverage. The code is still safe to be moved to the production. Okay, 5 lines will make the code coverage. If 5 lines are passed through the test method, then the code coverage that you get is only 50%. Okay, which means that code cannot be moved from sandbox to production. Right, so any point of time you need at least a 75% code coverage for any of your codes to be moved from the sandbox to the production. Let me know if there is any difficulty understanding this.
I have a question, Jay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, how the system knows it has 10 lines of code? Like, is it excluding the loop and trigger context, those lines? And it is including only the...
This is not going to be considered as a line. So these things are not going to be considered, and this initiation of the trigger is not going to be considered. The rest, everything, whatever you are doing in every line is getting considered. See, the 3 lines, 3 of 3 are clear. So these bracket close and all these things will not be considered. Or in some line, if you have just defined a variable or something, that will also not be considered. That doesn't need to be tested. In a line, you have just defined account A equals new account, so that does not need to be tested in case you needed to define a variable. So those are not counted. Correct? Only the lines where you have actually written some sort of logic, those are counted.
Hello, Ji.
Hello? Yeah.
How the test class and the triggers are linked? Did we mention any linking?
No.
How the test class will know this test
See,
class for this trigger?
so that's the point basically. So if you look into the test method, so you don't have to specify that this test method is for this particular class or this particular trigger. When a test method runs, that test method automatically sees that, okay, fine, if that this operation got done successfully, which all processes or which all triggers uh, should get clearance out of this. So that's something which test method will automatically do. Correct. So you don't have to go and specify that this test method is for this trigger or something. Correct. The moment 200 records got created, the positive behavior was checked. It automatically provides clearance to this particular trigger. If there is something else also which is getting checked inside this, and there's another trigger associated, with the same similar kind of logic, that trigger will also get clearance or will also get the code coverage. So that's a good thing. You don't have to actually go and specify that this test method is for this particular trigger.
Thank you.
Right. So here we are not writing that do a test method for this trigger. Here what we are trying to do, we are just trying to simply insert 200 records, and the moment it inserts 200 records, it automatically checks that this operation, which all uh, you know code are performing this kind of operation, it will give code coverage to those particular codes or those methods or triggers. All right. Okay.